You talked a little bit about the results that you've seen over the last 10 years that you've been here and the 17 years here in China. One of the things, let's go back through each of those areas. On the hydro side, the eco-flows piece, can you talk a little bit about the benefits of the ecological flows that we were able to work on the Three Gorges Dam, and how we measured that? Can you tell a little bit of that story and the increase in fish downstream?
Yeah, it's a little bit complicated model. Good thing is that the Three Gorges basically has been accept the concept of the environmental flow, but our design is more than that.
Yeah.
Because want a dam to run their business, they have to balance several needs. The top one is flood risk. Second is generate the power. But in the past, they didn't consider any about environment. So that's our niche, wanted to impact. So we doing study for 3 to 5 years to study how to understand what is the environmental flow on the river, and based on that, how the dam operate their business to meet our study, to meet the environmental needs, and how many power generate, extra power generate coming from the because of they applied the environmental flow. So give you just a number. We expect that the number is is around over 500 million US dollar a year if they applied our methodologies on environmental flow. But the risk is that increase the flood issues, because in the summer the floods coming, they are going to use the flood to generate power.
Right.
But the downstreams, the flood risk will be high.
Destructive flood.
Flood. So flood plain is become very important. How to compensate that risk? So very obvious. The extra money generated from the power station can go to that areas to compensate the risk. This is a general idea. It's ideal idea.
Yeah.
So we've been talking this model. We call it sustainable hydropower fund to make this mechanism moving step by step. Now the progress that the Three Gorges already accept the environmental flow on single dam. But our plan is working on a series the dam, working together overall.
Yeah.
Working together, then that's a real environmental flow approach. Then to establish the sustainable fund to compensate the flood plan, to manage to restore the flood plan the original functions. So it is hard, but
so it's a big idea, and you're having to reduce it to smaller ideas to make some progress.
Yeah, we have a whole idea, but our approach is step by step.
But so one of those smaller ideas is to reoperate the one dam, the Three Gorges Dam. You've had some success in increasing fish populations downstream. Is that how's that going?
We will be monitoring on that for about 3 years. The results looks good. Looks good. But
just by virtue of moving the flows up in the springtime and then down in the winter, you get increased fish.
Yeah, we already done 3 years monitoring. The results looks good, but not good enough. Because single dams doesn't make sense. Only run single dam. It's a serious dam.
Even a big dam like Three Gorges, you still have to think about the whole river.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Well, switching a little bit to the work that you've done on the carbon front and the climate and forestry. One of the things that was interesting to me about that is the CCB standard, the Communities in Climate and Biodiversity for Carbon. And can you talk a little bit about what the community's benefit has been and how our projects, those 10 projects around China, have benefited people in those villages around those forests?
Yeah, it's a very good question, thank you. The community can involve these tree planting activities and benefit at least three parts. The first part is they can provide the labor. When people, when we need labor to planting trees.
So they're paid as farming trees,
yeah,
basically. Yeah.
They be paid on labors. Second is that we trade the carbon, and we get some income from carbon trade, and we share 1/3 of our carbon fund go to the community. Not big money, but it's kind of mechanism to get a little bit in return. The third part is very important. Is 30 years or 60 years ago, the trees belong to the communities, so they can harvest.
Yeah, and so theoretically, in 30 years, maybe they harvest and then replant.
Yeah, and we can do another round.
Another round, and more carbon is sequestered.
Yeah.
Similarly, in the work that you've done and that you were very involved in Sichuan, the land trust has also benefited local communities.
Yeah.
Normally, we think about land reserves or conservation easements or land trusts as being kind of about getting rid of the people and taking the people off the land. But in the one that you worked on in Sichuan, in Laohego, that's not really the case. You have local people who are benefiting. Can you talk a little bit about how you designed that and what you were thinking about?
Yeah. The Laohego, our first land trust preserve, good for us is within our preserve, it's around 10,000 hectares big, and there's no residents living in our preserves. But the surrounding communities, they get into our preserves to produce some timber or illegal hunting. So huntings, collect some mushrooms, those kind of things. So when we get there, we establish the preserve, legally protect. We get 50 years management right on that areas. We are not allowed community get involved. But in trade, we help the community produce the eco product. So we help them to identify about 20 product, and we provide the training, help them to produce like honey, bee honey, like rice, and some wild collective things, and help them to link with high-end markets. Help them to on one hand help them to produce a good project, and on the other hand help them to sell it. So the first year we start with a small business, just about 10,000 business, just have 5 households joining us. Second year is grow very fast. Second year has become to around 150,000 US dollar business, and about 20 households join us. And last year is great. It's growing up to around 500,000 business, and around 50
and there's a
households join us.
So there's a real demand in China for organic, safe food that is grown near or around or collected from nature reserves.
Yes, it is.
So this has become a very good model.
Yeah, very good model. And good thing is that not only the community getting benefit, but also our preserve benefit, because through this small business, it's nothing bad for manage the preserves, because we don't allow any people get into our preserve. It's private preserve, and from this small business, getting 1/3 of our operation fees come from small business.
Interesting.
So gradually to make our preserve
Yeah.
financially sustainable
Sustainable.
ways.
Mhm.
So hopefully in next year or 2 years later, the preserve can fully
Cash flow.
financially
Yeah.
sustainable.
So one of the things I also really appreciated about the work that you've done in China, and I'll wrap up my kind of questions here in a second, is how you've used your board members. Your board members are really important to you.
Yeah.
People like Liu Bensheng in Inner Mongolia, or Thomas or Jack in Sichuan, Guo Guangchang and others in Hainan.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about how that came about. You all have some great projects. Did they get interested in them, or did they bring the projects to you and said, I'm interested in this, or was it a mix?
Yes. In last 5 years, we established a very strong China board. For example, Jack Ma is really fan of the water.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we can address the issues and provide our solutions
Mm-hmm.
and demonstrations and scale up.
Mm-hmm.
So very step by step to educate them, to encourage them to get involved our project deeply. For example, for the land trust, they very believe it's TNC expertise. They see what happened on the ground, so very solid result. So also we use the eco product. Ask them to
Find
to
markets.
enjoy
Yeah.
find the market and to enjoy the results
Right.
from our conservations. And also we organize some nature journey
Mm-hmm.
to look around all over the world of TNC.
Mm.
We have done a great job, like Africa, the gorgeous place, like Palau, Alaska. I've just been there. It's fantastic. So inspire them
Mm-hmm.
to have the responsibility to do something for good
Yeah.
for nature.
Yeah.
And also we host several events, high-level events, to give them a stage to present themselves,
Yeah.
like ivories,
Uh,
like board meetings, like media kind of things. So give them a stage
mm-hmm.
to speak, to present,
Mm-hmm.
and to be honored.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think it's a fantastic story about the China board, and especially interesting to me that these are global thinkers. They have traveled to so many times to Africa, to Southeast Asia, to Latin America, US, Canada, all around China with you all. And that, I think, helped to inspire the China Global Conservation Fund, which is an interesting tool, I think, for also a window into the world of conservation for the China board.
Yeah, one more thing is that they also set up the CGZ, China Global Conservation Fund, already for 3 years. So they are not just doing project in China, they also supporting teams in global work, like Africa, Palau, PNG. Yeah.
They seem to be particularly interested in Africa. And I think maybe it's because of the big animals, the incredible landscapes, maybe it's our Africa program. But the event coming up this in December with the very famous painter Zhang Fanzhi is really an interesting example of that. Here's someone who 5 or 6 years ago was not, he's a very famous painter, and he was not doing and wasn't very interested in wildlife or conservation.
Just have no sense.
No sense at all. But now, all of his art, and they are enormous canvases, the size of 4 or 5 meters by 3 or 4 meters, are all about animals and the connection between humans and nature.
Yeah.
So it's a really interesting way that you all have figured out to guide people forward in conservation and wildlife. Well, let's switch over to questions. I don't want to, I can sit here and talk all day with Zhao Peng on this, but I want to make sure that we get questions from the audience and folks who are online. And so anybody, I'm not sure how quite we do this, but any questions? In the meantime, maybe I think only the questions will come up on the screen for us. But in the meantime, Peng, can you tell us a little bit, what are your favorite places that you've ever visited in China? So give us a little advice for people who might be coming to...
it's Sanjiangyuan.
Sanjiangyuan.
Tibetan areas, but unfortunately we don't have chance to walk in Tibetan areas. That is a gorgeous place as I've been. Yes. When I do the blueprint project, it's national, kind of analysis. We do sample to do on-site survey. So Sanjiangyuan is one of our, survey sites. So, I organize a trip, a round trip, in Tibetan area. So it's my first time go to the Tibetan. So it's it's very early stage when I joined TNC. I'm really inspired of that experience. Yeah. So it's timing is so fast. It's already been 10 years.
Right. Now the Tibetan areas. We work in Tibetan areas, but only the Tibetan areas of Sichuan and Yunnan, right?
Part. Yeah. Yunnan part. We used to working on our national park. We used to working on national park. There's pilot national park in mainly snow mountain areas. We working over there about 5 years, I think. And but recent years, any foreign NGO are not allowed to work in those kind of areas. So unfortunately.
Yeah. Are parts of Sichuan also in Tibetan areas that we work? Or
we are on the edge.
On the edge. Yeah. So you have some Tibetan people in a small village here or there. So where else? What's your second favorite place?
Global, I think, of course, Africa.
Africa,
it's an amazing place.
Yeah. And where did you visit in Africa?
It's Kenya.
Kenya.
Lava, Lusaba.
Yeah. And how about in China? Where would you suggest if we wanted to bring a group of people? Well, actually, we have the global board meeting. The global board of directors is coming to China to have their annual meeting in May next year, and we'll be taking them to some places. What would you think would be the most impressive place to show our work off?
I recommend several, depending on the purpose, depending on their favorite. So first one is I prefer Yunnan. The landscape is diverse, and you can see the national park, and also can see the Yunnan golden monkeys. Cute. Cool. And second is of course Sichuan. We have a very good example over there. You can see how different we managed the preserve versus the government. The government managed the reserves. How we work together. This is also an interesting story. And also, if they don't want to go, far away, you can just simply go to Shanghai. We just have a new wetland birdhouse. Established in nearby Shanghai. It's very important global important wetland for habitat for migratory bird habitat. So very close to the bigger cities. So many options.
And so on the city front, we historically in China have mostly worked in the west or the southwest in more rural areas. There's obviously lots of people everywhere in China, but those are less populated. Now I know you're thinking more about cities and urban areas and water, especially for urban areas. Can you give us a little bit of a sense of what's ahead for you on the urban front, especially on waters?
Yeah. The urbanization in China is still ongoing. Now the rate of urbanization in China is around 50%.
So 50% of the Chinese live in cities, 50% still in the country.
Yeah, around. But there's still space versus the advanced country like US, like Europe.
Yeah.
And the urbanization is supposed to be up to 70, even to 80s.
Yeah.
So great potential. We need to address urban issues. Like I just introduced some new areas where I think about urban and about the waterfront.
Mhm.
The freshwater I just mentioned, previously we just focused on hydropower. Now we are working on the security water issues. So hopefully we can get a chance to set up our first waterfront in east or south of China. Very recently we got a chance to be invited by Danone company who run run their business in Dongjiang River, which is the water supply to water suppliers to Shenzhen and Hong Kong. So hopefully we can in the near future we can set up our first waterfront in that area.
The Dongjiang River is a really interesting idea because it supplies so many people with water. 20 million people in Shenzhen, 7 million people in Hong Kong and other cities around Guangzhou. But the development pressure is very high, so people are always are moving into that valley, into that river valley. So some of the solutions that we have, for instance, from Latin America or Africa or the U.S. may work pretty well there.
Yeah, it's true.
We have, let's see, anybody have any other questions? China Urban Water Blueprint? We talked a little bit about that.
We talked a little bit. The global freshwater team is working with us to develop a Chinese version of urban water blueprint. We select 30 mega cities of China to analysis which city is best best chance to use our nature-based solutions and have best chance to set up the waterfront. So the preliminary analysis already been done, and we also invite some partners to join publish the report. Some partners including the Chinese Environmental Science Academy and also IUCN. They are happy to join us to publish the report. So the final results will be finished. A final report will be published by the end of this year.
This end of this calendar year.
This calendar year. And follow up that report, we are going to explore some opportunities for set up waterfront. So just I mentioned, the Dongjiang River is one of our options.
Well, you talked about urbanization in China and people. 20 or 30 years ago, it was 80% of the people in the country and 20% in the city. And now it's going to turn around in the next 20 years. It will be 80% in the city and 20% in the country. What are the worries of China's city dwellers? What do people worry about? Is it water and air and food, or what are they thinking?
Very top is air pollution. Second is water. Third is food.
So the basics. People worry about the basics, right?
I think it's same with US or other countries. But the air pollution and the water issue is really serious now. You see, I'm in Beijing, and you see the news, how bad of the air pollution in Beijing. So it's very urgent agenda. And recently, we've been talking with the global urban strategy teams to think about what kind of solution we can provide to fix or to help to improve the water, the air quality issues. It's a very interesting topic. We really want to do something like that.
Well, it seems like a great opportunity to add value to China's growth and civilization, and it's an opportunity that sits completely within our mission. People have asked me in the past, what do we do about air quality? And my response is, well, we're helping the desert to not blow away, which is a big air quality problem. And we're sequestering carbon, and we're planting trees that also sequester other pollutants. And that's a big, it's a set of things that are critically important. Some of the other things, obviously, are cars and power plants and factories and the like. Maybe we'll, and even the design of cities and how cities work with mass transit and plants and forests in cities. So there's probably a lot of work for us to engage on that front.
Yeah, and also we are thinking about getting to the area about sustainable energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, renewable energy issues.
Yeah. Well, look, Zhao, we should wrap up. I think if there's not any more questions from the group, I just want to say thank you. For those of you who don't know Zhao Peng, he's really an amazing character, one of the smartest people I know in China, and incredibly dedicated. He's endured a lot in terms of working for TNC. He's suffered long separations from his family. He's even had tough time physically, getting sick in Sichuan. So he's really incredibly dedicated, in addition to being the smartest guy in the room when almost any room he walks into. I'm inspired by you, and thank you for the great work that you do and for all of the work that your colleagues do.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.